You are welcome to this week's community show. And today we want to assess the power situation in West Nile. That is a part of Uganda in the northwest of Uganda. Now, West Nile has grappled with the issue of power outages. In fact, West Nile hasn't been connected to the national grid until efforts were made and there were promises, pledges here and there to have West Nile connected to the national grid. Now, the situation of power in Uganda is that only about 28%, according to World Bank 2020, only about 28% of Uganda is connected, only about 28% of Uganda's population is connected to electricity or has access to electricity. That is essentially very low. And 8%, only 8% of the population in rural areas is connected to the national grid. And for the urban areas, about 60%, which is still low for urban areas. Electricity is still very expensive in Uganda, and connectivity, or one be connecting, can spend over $200 connecting to electricity, which makes the situation a bit dire. And West Nile, being a rural area, is among those unconnected places, and this has furthered abject poverty. It has, of course, hindered many economic activities, but also it has hindered people's, income, it has hindered a better standard of living for many people. So today, on this show, we want to assess the situation of West Nile from the people who have worked there, the people who understand the situation there. And I would like colleagues here to introduce themselves, and then we shall begin with the conversation. I'll begin with you, Ronald, Charles, and Justine in that order.
I am Charles Ronald from Ogira.
I'm Goodluck Musinguzi. I'm a journalist. I have a website called West Nile Today News. In West Nile, I work with several journalists. I've visited the place and I follow a lot that happens there. Thanks very much.
My name is Justine Aweto. I'm working with LANDnet Uganda, officer, an advocate. I'm working in the district of Kudu, Ade, and Kitgum. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles, you said you are in West Nile.
I am from Karamoja.
Okay. So Ronald, Goodluck, would like you to share with us the situation as a journalist, the situation of West Nile when it comes to matters pertaining to power, electricity, and energy.
Thank you very much. In 2020 and 2021, when we were going for elections, there was a hashtag that was being started by people from West Nile. They
is Justine there? Okay, Justine, yes, from your point of view, give us a situation in West Nile when it comes to power and energy.
Thank you very much. Personally, I've actually never been to West Nile. That is a little surprising, considering the fact that I'm working closely. I'm working in the districts, I would say neighboring West Nile, but also we're in the same region. The information I have about the power outages and the power issues in West Nile are mostly the ones I get through print media, online, and then of course radios and the like. But Also, yesterday I had the opportunity of having a short session with a few guys who are in Rua, and they were telling me the challenges that they have had with power. Surprisingly, I'd actually not even known that Arua has never been connected to the national grid. They have all been using, I think they've been using generators. There's a company that has been providing them with power. But considering the rate of economic growth in Arua and the neighboring districts, realize that at the beginning, when these generators were installed and all that, the power that was being produced was not, I would not say exactly adequate, but it was manageable. Yeah, the things were quite manageable. But considering Arua is actually, besides Kampala, Mbarara, and I think Jinja Fort Portal, Arua I think comes around 5th as among the fastest growing cities or districts in Uganda. So that means there's a lot of investment, there's a lot of requirement for power. One, there's population growth. We are well aware that West Nile is hosting a very large number of refugees that is still increasing their power demand, but also the economic growth that is ongoing there. There are a lot of people that require power for different reasons. We have institutions like vocational institutions that are having machines that need power. There are sewing machines and all these other machines with modernization that is going on that require power. Then, of course, power for domestic use, power for use in institutions and hospitals and all that. So there is a big demand for power in Arua or West Nile as a whole. But what we are seeing is that the supply is not exactly increasing at the same rate as the demand for power. So it's like every other year that goes on, they're actually increasing power or electricity problems and demands in West Nile, but Arua to be specific. I understand the government has tried as much as possible to solve the problem, but personally, I think they are not doing enough, because for a district that is growing that fast, for a district that is contributing enormously to the country's GDP, surely the government should have done enough. There were promises, but by the end, I think by the end of 2019, that is when Karuma Power Dam was scheduled to be completed, and then the power finally being input in the national grid. But that hasn't happened up to now. We have some little power that is being, there's one I think in Muni. There's an area in Arua called Muni. I'm sure you've heard of Muni University. It's not far from that place. I think it's about 2 kilometers from the city center. There's some power generation center that is being built there. Hopefully they're hoping that it's going to it's actually not going to solve all the electricity demands of Arua and West Nile, but it's going to contribute. Then I think there's also power that is being tapped from, I'm not sure of the district, is it Buyende or something like that? There's some power that is coming from there. There's hope that Karuma is going to contribute some power. There's also a dam that has actually already been completed it's in one of the districts in the Choli sub-region that is actually already producing power, but the distribution has not yet reached West Nile and Arua, to be specific. So that is a situation that I've managed to gather as far as power is concerned in West Nile and Arua in specific. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Charles. What's your assessment of the power situation in West Nile? All right. Yes, I'll read out on the 9th of December, 2022, Daily Monitor ran a story, and this story was titled "West Nile Patients Dying Due to Power Shortages." Now, they reported that in Zombo district, 13 patients had died between 2021 and 2022 due to power issues. And those were people on machines, possibly power went off, the power they had went off, and all the lack thereof, and that is Zombo, in Zombo district. And this was reported by Daily Monitor. In Pakwach district, the Health Center for Administration confirmed one death that was registered in 2022 due to power cuts. Yeah, there have also been Nyapea Hospital, where they also experienced major blackouts. They also reported that they have experienced major blackouts. Arua Regional Referral Hospital also reported experiencing major blackouts. And for Pakwach Health Center 4, they confirmed loss of a premature baby in the month of November due to a power cut. Now, this is statistics that it was also from undercover investigation. Many do not report for fear of retribution from government officials, but also for fear of scrutiny. So many numbers are unreported, and many victims do not, they don't come out. So Charles, you wanted to add something, before I continue to give more scenarios and more examples of how dire the power situation is. Charles, would you want to, to add your analysis of the situation?
Thank you, Martin. And colleagues, power outages in West Nile in particular as a common phenomenon that is affecting the social life persons. For example, we have our cases of child mortality deaths that are caused by power outages. For example, women for C-section, they pay, or people go to get anything that requires electricity, medical attention that requires electricity. You find that in one way or the other, they are affected. We must also note that the power issue in West Nile was on the 28th of October last year when West Nile gets connected to the national power grid after 19 years of assault, trying to figure out through the West Nile Rural Electrification Corporation. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, through the.
But be a bit louder.
Yes. After I'm saying it is after 19 years of private electricity distribution in West Nile that on 28th of October 2022 is when West Nile gets connected to the national power grid. All along, the hassle of electrifying West Nile has been through the efforts of a private company, which in one way or the other, they have their different or unique challenges. You must also note that the power issues, the ongoing power outages issues has affected business on the verge of, has subjected most businesses to shut down, and there's also cost patients die due to the same power issue. I feel it will be of great importance that we really upscale our advocacy to ensure that West Nile power supply gets better for the general good of the people. We are very much aware that in regards to the fulfillment of the international doctrines, social, economic, and cultural rights. The right to life comes in at play, and in effort to ensure that some of these are enjoyed, the government put in place measures where we do not just watch people die. For example, in hospital, due to power outage, it becomes a total deprivation. The right to health and protection from untimely deaths, which would have been prevented due to constant power supply. Thank you, stop here.
Thank you, Charles, for that. Yeah, and indeed, hospitals are much affected by these power cuts, and the unavailability of power. On June 18th, June 2021, it was reported that Arua Hospital lost 5 patients due to power cuts, and these were mainly because of the lack of oxygen. The same has happened for very many patients. There are very many stories, and this Daily Monitor story runs a number of stories of victims, people whose relatives died because there was no power at that particular time to connect them to oxygen, name it. So the situation is still quite dire in the districts that compose West Nile. That's Arua, Nebi, Pakwach, Zombo, name it. So now we want to go to, we lost you, Goodluck, as you are making your point. I don't know whether you would like to add to that. Otherwise, we would want to ask, why has it taken this long for government to connect West Nile, to connect key cities, like Arua, key places like Arua, to the national grid? Why hasn't Arua, for example, had power connectivity for all this time? So please finish your sentence and also help us understand what would be the cause of such a delay.
Thank you very much. I was saying, when you go to Arua town, you hear generators from one shop to another, and really they make an irritating a sound that you wonder the people who work from there. Arua, after Kampala, Arua city is one place where you go and you find jam of people. People are very many. Of course, we understand also there is the issue of refugees. They have crossed maybe towards over 500,000, 1 million people, amongst them who are not Ugandans. So it's a region that has a big potential. And we know the president has been in this region, or he's in the region. And one thing, when I heard him speak, he talked about the power issue. He said they wanted to evacuate power from Lila, but it was going to be a very, very big problem, because by the time it reaches the region, it would have lost the energy. And then putting a strong line at that time, there was no demand. But for me, it doesn't augur well with me that we can have some regions, take all these years not having power. This power is needed to power the region, because when the region is doing very well, like West Nile, they add a lot on our growth as a country in terms of taxes and the well-being of this country. And I can tell you that one of the first election things, when you ask people around, they will tell you about power. But the good thing is that power has started coming. They have started being connected on the national grid. As we speak, Pakwachi There are some areas of Pakwach which have been connected. There are some areas in the refugee hosting communities using the Swedish fund. They have been able to connect and I have seen this. So there is some hope that one day Arua, West Nile, will be connected fully. I visited Karuma when it was still under construction, and I'm happy that I have seen the first turbine is working. But also there are issues with the power lines which are being constructed. Of course, now people have started coming in to say we want to be compensated. I don't know whether that one will delay the process. But also secondly, I saw some of the lines being pulled down by in this web where we have people, vandalizing these power lines. So I hope some of those things, but power is needed in West Nile like yesterday. The potential in West Nile can be compared to Kampala. Yes, I can, for now I can stop there.
Thank you very much. Now, Justine, as a person who has studied that area, what would you think is the cause of such inordinate delays in connecting places like Arua?
I personally, I think the government is largely to blame. One, I think Uganda produces about 1,350 something megawatts of electricity. Of that, Uganda only consumes about 800 megawatts. That means about 540 something is actually exported to other countries like Kenya, Rwanda, and the like. So it beats my understanding that Uganda is producing actually more than is consumed, and yet we are getting information from government, from the power regulatory bodies and distribution bodies that the demand is at 800 megawatts, which would beg a question that why are people complaining in West Nile if they're saying the demand is only 800? It actually means the demand is more than 800 megawatts. It's just that the government hasn't prioritized distribution, I would say. And that is the biggest challenge at the moment, because if we are producing enough or more than enough, then essentially we should be having all the districts and everyone who demands electricity getting electricity. I think that is a problem, but I think it's also the over-reliance on the privately owned companies to produce power for Arua. I haven't had the opportunity of reading through the contracts that government has with these companies. I think there are like about 4 companies that are producing power in West Nile. Privately, there's Wenreco, there's Electromax, Ismail Wiring, and I think Moto, Power of Fire. Those are the main companies that are producing and distributing power in West Nile. So the question would be, have these companies realized their profits per se? What kind of contract did they have with the government? Were they supposed to give power and provide for eternity and all that? Because sometimes there are unwritten hindrances that people might not easily talk about. Privately owned companies, their main goal and aim is to make profits. Yeah. So if you have such a company such companies that are providing power to the whole region, in one way or another, they might not exactly support connecting West Nile or Arua to the national grid. That is just business. Anyone, it's simple logic. If I'm supplying power to the districts in West Nile, and then now there's a call for it to be connected to the national grid, that means that the money that I've been getting from all this, I might not be seeing it, or even if I'm going to see it, it's going to reduce. By the recent, we remember immediately after elections when the cost of fuel increased. Also, the cost of electricity increased a lot in West Nile for Arua specific. I think at one point people were buying diesel for as much as 9,000 per liter. Right now it has reduced to 5,000 shillings in Arua and the neighboring districts. But still the cost of power has not reduced really. We should be seeing at least an effort by government to by now they should be thinking of reducing the cost of using electricity. But we are having instances where the government where these companies have to employ means of, I would say, load shedding, where during the day most of the power is diverted and sent to those that need it most, mostly companies that are running big industries or machinery. And then also, of course, with hospitals being a priority, then now at night you switch to domestic use, and yet there's a lot of power that is being generated. Earlier on, I talked of a district where power is being generated in northern Uganda. The district is Agago, that is producing power that has not been, it's actually not being used. The power is there, more than enough actually, but it has, the construction of the power distribution lines have not yet been completed. I think right now they're at about 70%. Also, the government is promising that by the end of the year, most of the power challenges and outages in Arua would have been solved, but we cannot rely on such. From experience, if at all we are to trust what the government says, then I think earlier on 2019, they had promised that Arua electricity demands would be fully met, but now we're in 2023 and the promise is that by the end of the year, there will be enough power and electricity in Arua. So until that is seen, we cannot completely believe and hope that by the end of the year, there will be enough electricity in West Nile or Arua to be specific, which begs the question, and what are the other alternatives if the government is not acting as fast as the people in West Nile would expect? What are the other options for them? Also, what are the available options as far as reducing the cost of electricity is concerned? Those are the questions which we should be asking now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for helping us understand the intricacies behind that, and helping us to understand the situation and how much Uganda actually produces more electricity than it consumes. And indeed, from your discussion, it seems the issue is not necessarily lack of electricity, but the issue is indeed distribution and connectivity. That is why we have very, a small number of people who are connected, and then electricity has been exported to other countries that are able to utilize it or to connect their citizens and their industries, to the power supplies. So it's the situation is a bit and then it's a bit worrisome, and indeed, like you say, government is to blame because government has the obligation to ensure the highest standards of living to its people. It has, responsibility to connect people to, to power, to help facilitate business, name it. So I want to come to you, Charles, and ask if you agree with, would you agree with Justine on the cause of this delay? Do you think government is the one to blame, or people haven't also been proactive enough, And in any case, can we only rely on hydroelectric power, which is the essence, the one we're talking about, in this debate? Are there other alternative sources of energy that we can use, such as solar energy, wind, biogas and all that. Oh, Charles has left. But yeah, Ronald, Goodluck, you could also answer that.
Thank you very much. And I could listen to Justine, and I feel the pain that goes on in that region. And actually, if you saw the Minister of Energy, Ruth Nankabirwa Sentamu, was booed when she tried to explain to the president why power was delaying. People kept saying lies, lies, lies. And I have seen her go on her Twitter say that she's warning all the contractors to make sure that they expedite the distribution and evacuation of power to West Nile. Now, imagine West Nile, we are producing more than 1,000 megawatts. West Nile just needs 11, just 11, not even 50. And I can tell you, or maybe because they have been, of course, default, maybe they would have invested and maybe they would be in 100 or 200. But the whole point is that for me, the other thing, I don't want to use the word government because it is a bit of amorphous. It makes us fail to pin certain people, certain faces, because there are people who have been given this, I call it an opportunity to get jobs and work. And these are technocrats. The technocrats in the Ministry of Energy, from the signing of the Musiime contract to the way they have executed some of these things, you wonder, and sometimes maybe we don't get angry enough. Sometimes we don't get angry enough. Like people are given jobs, the World Bank, we get loans, we pump in money, but people go to sleep. I was at Karuma in 2018. I visited with the Land Probe Committee headed by Justice Catherine Bamugemedi. We visited and they told us by December, that was 2000. As we speak today, Karuma has just had one turbine start. How many years have we lost? Maybe I can forgive during the COVID time. But for me, I still believe that when you compare in countries like Japan, if you are given an assignment and you fail to do it, sometimes maybe, I don't want to encourage committing suicide, but maybe you have just to feel ashamed and just take away and just end your life. But here, it's like as if the people of West Nile have to, and you know, you forgive the people. That when we are going for the 2021 elections, the NRM people once again appealed to people. They said, we will deliver as soon as possible. And I believed them because Karuma was inside. And now we are going half of the term. Should we wait for these guys to go for another election? They should be, in the next election, they should be demanding maybe for industry, something else, not electricity. The NRM government that's going to be making 40 years in power. When they brought on what Justine has talked about, these other private companies, it was like just covering a wound. And we know they should be out of West Nile as soon as yesterday, so that the UGCL takes over, people are given power, the power is there, the resources are there, people are not working day and night. I think for people in the energy, when it reaches midday, maybe they go and do other things. So there's no way, for me as a person, I get a little bit of irritated. Martin, you said you need $200 to connect. Where I come from, I was asked for 4 million. That's almost $1,000. And I can tell you, I stay in a municipality. Now they told me it is, I'm in the periphery. They told me you benefit under the rural program. I failed to benefit. So they said, get us 4 million. Now, 10 years ago, I have abandoned my home. The pain I have, now, for me now, I see electricity with other people have. How about these guys? How can they say they are part of this country? And yet the potential, I can tell you, Martin, if we moved in Arua today, the people you see in Kampala, almost on some of the streets in Arua, they are the people you will see. Go to other towns. Go to other towns that have electricity. They don't have such a numbers, because remember, our power as a country is not in the buildings, is not in what, it is us, the people. When the people are fine, when the people now, when as a health writer, I can tell you, it has been expensive for Ministry of Health to maintain, to make sure that people don't die. Otherwise, Arua Regional Referral Hospital, I think now has 2 big generators that take in 700 liters of fuel. It's costly to maintain these generators. How about the health centers that have been built all over? You can't build a health center in West Nile and you forget to make sure that you provide big generators. So the cost, and remember, when we lose one person should annoy us more. So I can say that the people of West Nile have been good. They have listened, they have waited. But when the people of West Nile booed the minister, I think I agreed with them, because I was watching and I was saying, okay, until when, if they cannot express their anger in front of the president, when will they express their anger? And I'm happy they did. And the president promised to reply, to really meet people and answer. But up to now, I'm not satisfied that we are going to make 40 years down the road. Other places, do you know that there is power in Moroto? There is power in Karamoja. There is no power in West Nile. The potential, I'm not saying the people of Karamoja are not human beings. There is power in Kisoro. I'm not saying in other places, people who are there are less of human beings. But I'm saying the potential. How can we tap into the potential of West Nile? Because it has a lot with that annex of Southern Sudan and DRC. They have a lot to add on this country. And remember, after COVID, I'm following apparently what is happening at the World Bank and IMF spring meetings. All countries are crying. If really you've been working in terms of the economy, now there must be a marathon. And for me, if you remember, there's when we had an issue at one of the dams in Simba. I mean, somebody touched the wrong switch and water covered all. And now the next day, I'm told one of the ministers whom I have talked about, he told cabinet that now we are going to import power. I'm told there has never been anger from the head of state. He just said, leave. And you know what? They fixed Isimba in not so many days. If you remember now, Isimba is back on. So I think the president was not hard enough on Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa. I think for me, she should have been told to leave the grounds and go and be at Karuma or be in the region for the next month. And you would see how things move. But she must be somewhere back in Kampala. She's going to go across, visit other countries in meetings. The pain of electricity will continue. And if we lose another niches, these are facilities to make sure that children who are born, who are prematures, they don't die. And there's a story of somebody who had to bring, when they saw the wife was going to produce 4 children, they had to be evacuated to Chiwoko in Nakaseke to make sure that when the children are born, the niche that was there could support. And indeed, it happened. How about if it happens to another lady? who is going to produce more than one children, and maybe because now when there are many inside the womb, most likely they get born when they are premature. So for me, that's the pain. And I can say, if we go for the next election, if we go 2026, 2025, and nothing has been done, I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Goodluck, for that. We really appreciate. Now, it's interesting how there is reluctance still on the, and it's actually absurd how there is still reluctance on the political side to have many of these issues resolved as fast as possible. I mean, if such a crisis that happened where the dam, there was an overflow and many machines were cut off, and indeed many parts of Uganda experienced a blackout. I mean, the minister should have taken responsibility, and we should have seen some people resigning and leaving office for negligence of duty. Now, when you also mentioned about the action that the people of, Arua took on bowing the minister and all that, yes, indeed, people in Arua, West Nile, undertook civic action to ensure that they get electricity. In fact, they are being connected recently, is as a result of intense mobilization, intense civic action, which included protests and also included facing Parliament and taking petitions to Parliament, creating pressure on the ministers, creating pressure on the members of Parliament. And among those leaders of this movement is Musiime, who is a lawyer from West Nile. So they undertook action, or it's called ministers, MPs. They put everyone concerned on pressure to ensure that there is power, and this became a priority. But then the question is, why did it have to take so long? It felt as though that part of the country was forgotten, which has slowed their development, which has slowed the pace at which they have had to, catch up with the rest of Uganda. The next question goes to Justine, but seeing that Justine has dropped off the call, possibly due to internet issues. Okay, Justine is back. I now want to go to the last part of the segment, or in asking what, and much of that you've shared, but more elaborately, what should we do? What should government do? What should stakeholders do to ensure that there is increased connectivity of different places, not only West Nile, but different places in the country? You know that rural areas are about 8% connected, So what can be done? Should we have more diversification to allow private companies, private entities? Should there be, to devolve, to and decentralize many of these, to have many of these amenities like energy be handled and taken care of by local governments themselves? Is it now time for alternative sources of energy? So those are some of the things I would want to hear your perspectives on. Yes, Justine.
Thank you very much, Alex. I want to highlight something little, yeah? There are 17 strategic development goals of the United Nations. Out of the 17, Uganda falls short of achieving 8 in Arua or West Nile because of electricity. You imagine that. Uganda falling short of achieving 8 in West Nile because of electricity. Of the 17 strategic development goals, number 1 is no poverty or zero poverty. When you have a region that is lacking electricity to run industries and at the end of it all create jobs, involve people in agro-processing and all this, at the end of it all, you're going to have a lot of people that are not employed, that are not getting any form of income, and yet this could have been achieved if the region or if the district had electricity. We have the third one is it good health and well-being? Good health, that is very specific to hospitals that are not getting electricity. Alex, you gave us a little statistics about the number of people that were dying because there were power outages, the systems in the ICUs were not working, babies cannot be saved in the incubators because there is no power. Number 4 is quality education. Mostly this goes to vocational institutions that are teaching courses related to say IT. If you don't have electricity to run the computers, you're not going to have quality education. So we are looking at modernization at all levels, where you have machines now being used to most of the things that were actually done manually, especially in vocational schools. We have machines that say metal fabricators and all this. That is still going to be affected, and as it has been affected in West Nile. Then there is number 7, actually, that is now a little specific: affordable and clean energy. Affordable is the electricity that is being provided in Arua by the 4 companies that are generating. Is it clean energy? Of course, it is not clean energy, because you have generators, geothermal power, producing all this smoke and all. At the end of it all, we are affecting our environment. Then there is decent work and economic growth. All this cannot be achieved in West Nile, because power is so essential to development that is affecting. That's why I'm saying it's affecting as much as 8. Number 9, it's industry, innovation, and infrastructure. That is obvious. As far as industries are concerned, that is a challenge. Recently, I think that was last year, government decided to name Lira as the industrial city of northern Uganda. But what about Arua? Are we saying that Arua cannot be another industrial city of northern Uganda? Of course it can. It has the potential, it has the population, it has the demand, it's a border district. But we're seeing this cannot easily happen because there is little power. Then there is sustainable cities and communities. That is strategic development goal number 11. Arua as a city, I cannot say it is going to be sustainable. It is not going to attain what it desires to attain when there is no power, because electricity runs almost each and everything. As far as hospitals, schools, and domestic use, we all know the uses of electricity. Climate action is strategic development goal number 13. We are saying we're using this geothermal power generators with all the smoke. Right now, we are seeing a lot of internationally. There's been a lot that has been pushed towards climate action, reducing green gas emissions, and we are seeing electric cars that are now being produced. I'm actually happy that in Uganda we even have electric bikes. But you're not going to have electric bikes running in Arua or West Nile because there is very little power. And like my brother here has highlighted, Arua needs only about 11 megawatts to solve all its electricity problems. Agago, the power electricity generating dam in Agago, is going to produce about 30 megawatts. There is also Nyagak. There is Karuma that is going to produce 600 megawatts. That is more than enough for Arua. That is producing I mean, if the reason for not having power in West Nile or Arua was that there was little power, little power generated, or that the cost of distribution all the way from Jinja to Arua would have been expensive. Right now there is Karuma. I don't think Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited has any excuse whatsoever. There is power, it is close enough to Arua, so Arua should be having power. I don't want to criticize the government so much. I also want to give credit where it's due. Last year in September, there's a project that was launched. It's called, is it Grid Expansion and Reinforcement Project, that is specifically aimed at distributing power from, in the districts of actually Gulu, Kole, Nebi, and Arua. Now, this project, it is a loan, I think about $100 million loan from World Bank that is supposed to distribute most of the power that is needed in these 4 districts. Gulu has also had its fair share of power outages and electricity problems, but theirs is compared to Arua, they are better off. So the power that is going to be generated from Karuma, it's still, the whole of it will be first brought to Kole district, that is in Lao sub-region. Then from Kole, it's now going to be distributed through the lines that will run from Kole to Gulu, to Nebi, and finally Arua. There are promises that the project will be completed by the end of this year. Hopefully, for the first time, there's going to be some change. And like I'd said before, experience has taught us not to rely completely and believe everything that the government tells us. But hopefully, for the first time, they can be right, and this problem of electricity in West Nile and Arua, to be specific, can be greatly reduced. But all in all, we are seeing there's some little hope now. I've personally had the experience of seeing what is happening in Karuma. I've seen the power distribution lines running from Karuma coming up to the distribution center in Kole. I've seen it being built. Personally, I've seen it. So at least there is some hope that the power or electricity problem in West Nile, and I want to be specific, will be greatly reduced. Thank you.
Martin?
Yes.
I want to talk about the alternatives. I have been following the distribution of solar power. There has been some great efforts also to distribute solar power across West Nile, and again from Pakwach and the other districts. Yes, it has been a relief for some families, to help children to read at home, and maybe charge a few gadgets here and there. So in terms of the alternative power sources, and remember also, by the way, West Nile is a little bit of hot. It can be hot. So the solar project can do very well. So I think the Ministry of Energy, under the different programs, they have also trying to push, but generally it has not, you don't see that enthusiasm. Like people say, when you see people going to demonstrate, how people come with enthusiasm to stop them. So you don't see also that enthusiasm in terms of a service delivery, where we see ministers maybe going to camp in an area where ministers and their permanent secretaries. And by the way, I don't want to be seen to push to help some people, but there are some ministries where you see ministers, the PS, the what, top management, they are not in offices. But with Ministry of Energy, apart from telling us about the oil that is coming or that's where we see like they are putting too much effort. But they should remember that every other the National Development Program 3 requires them to go to the last mile. Now, the last mile is that person with a grass-thatched house near the border of Southern Sudan and West Nile, near the border between Congo and West Nile. If you can't bring power, the lines, take their solar, because we must reach the last mile. It's not about that we will take power in Arua and it is done. No, Arua and the people of West Nile deserve better. And the sooner we do this, or the sooner if they can't be pushed, the sooner we also as citizens push them to tell them that there's a part of the country that is hurting, that has been so good to us. And you know, West Nile was once a rebel. They used to fight. They used to oppose. They took arms. But then there's a time also they said, let's give peace a chance. And now peace comes with development. Peace does not come with promises that don't really materialize. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those thoughts. We have come to the end of our show. I don't know if there is any last remark yet. Okay, Justine, yes.
As alternatives, my brother has ably elaborated of solar. There's of course already geothermal that is being used, but there are also other alternatives like biogas. There's wind power. Recently, the government is so much interested in nuclear power. Hopefully, we'll have a nuclear plant somewhere in West Nile. There's wind power, but also, you see, there's a way development is can be interrelated or work hand in hand. There's Kinyara and Kakira sugar works all generate their own electricity, and they actually distribute and sell to their neighbors. Yeah, I understand what they do is the residue from the sugar cane that has already been crushed and all that has extracted is sort of put in a furnace, yeah, that burns and boils water, then pressure is developed, and then it runs turbines. At the end of it all, they actually generate more than enough electricity for their use, and they distribute. So Atiak is not very far from Arua or West Nile. Probably if it starts working, that can also be an alternative. But looking at all the alternatives that are available, alternative power sources, for Arua, we cannot again mention geothermal because that is actually already the one that is in use. So we are basically looking at solar, biogas, wind power, nuclear, wind, and then all this. So we realize that the one that is readily available and cheaply can be cheaply got is actually solar. But when we look at solar, how much power can we get from solar? The development and the use of solar, mostly in Uganda or in Arua, is for domestic use. But we also realize that if we want Arua to develop, if we want West Nile to develop, it's not just going to be power for lighting at homes. We need power that will be able to run all the machines in the hospitals, to be able to run all the mechanical equipment and all that would push the district and the region towards development as far as industrialization is concerned. So I think our main focus should be on electricity or nuclear power. Those ones will generate enough power to solve the electricity challenge in West Nile or Arua, to be specific. But as of now, we only have one alternative, and that is electricity. So we should push and work and as Civic Space TV is doing. I mean, other organizations and CSOs should join and push the government towards, at least, we don't want to see an instance where at the end of this year we are saying that out of the $100 million that was got from World Bank, maybe only say 50% was used and the rest was swindled. I pray this does not happen. Let's work together to ensure that Arua is not left behind, to ensure that West Nile is not left behind. Thank you very much.
I think, Martin, also I had something to say.
Yeah, sure.
I think also when power is evacuated to West Nile, it can also be exported to nearby places near Southern Sudan and DRC. Because remember, you can't develop alone. When also the other communities start improving, that means they will be buying a lot from West Nile. They will provide the market, So like the way they have extended this power to border districts, we have seen we export to Kenya, we export to Tanzania, and we also export to Rwanda. So if the sooner we export to DRC and parts of Southern Sudan, I think the communities, because remember the communities in those border districts, they are not so much different. So you also wouldn't want to have the Ugandan side where everything is fine, and then you forget the other communities. But also, just in what you have talked about, even the money before it is stolen, we have what we call low uptake of the funds. Sometimes you find the funds are there, but because of some sluggishness, if you look at how the Chinese do their work and other people, they put, but now you have money, because some people cry they don't have money. But in some instances, you find there is money, and then the uptake, you find there are challenges with procurement, there are challenges with contractors, there are challenges with people who want, kidogo to sign here and there. Those are the things. So you find the money is out there, but it is also not working. So I think one of the things is as I said, when we talk of government, we forget the state actors. Sometimes the state actors, even sometimes, by the way, a minister might be doing fine, they have done their part. Then you have maybe they want NEMA to give them a certificate. I have seen projects where it takes 12 months or 24 months before NEMA provides a certificate. And you remember, if you don't have it, World Bank can't allow you to use their money. So there are things which are interconnected, and it needs us really to unpack them so that we get to know who. And by the way, a last remark, I wish sometimes we have also the faces, like the way we have Justine and me. We know these are the people who are delaying our projects. So that we don't keep saying government, the state, and people are just there eating sausages, yet for us, the people are suffering. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this. Now, and thank you all of you for your insightful deliberations in this conversation. And the issue of alternatives is very interesting, and I think it's something that can be upscaled, because if there is still a problem with connectivity, we do not have to wait for inefficiencies of government or distributors. There should be alternative means that are put into place to see that there is work, that is done, and to see that there is alternative means of energy. Egypt is a good model when it comes to solar energy. Many, in fact, also many Arab countries which have relied so much on fossils, but then they are shifting to renewable energy. Uganda is lucky that a big percentage of our energy is clean energy. The problem is it's not being distributed, okay? And if we can fast track clean energy, I think we have the potential of being leaders in the world when it comes to clean energy, because we've not relied so much on fossils to grow. Egypt has a total installed power capacity of around 3.8 gigawatts. And their solar energy now, their target is about 20%, that they should have 20% of energy from solar, but it's still a bit not meeting that target, but they are working hard towards achieving that. And their capacity now is around 320 gigawatts, 20 gigawatt hours. That's the way they calculate theirs. And you can see a country which we can copy, from when it comes to solar. And I think it's the leading, Egypt and Morocco are the leading countries when it comes to solar energy in Africa. We could also try to venture into that. And it's a viable, option. A bit expensive, but still it can be within our means, and our government can attract investment in those areas, including, yes, even nuclear energy. A bit expensive, but I think it can also be something that can be an alternative, if government is willing. But importantly is also to use what we have. Let us distribute what we have. It's important, the little we have. And as Justine said, I think also Goodluck, that there is now no excuse. Karuma is just near West Nile, and other, different stations. There shouldn't be an excuse for other parts of this country, parts of Uganda. No, it should be connected. And as we've seen from how Justine read the different sustainable development goals, they're interlinked. And having energy and power is very fundamental to achieving all the others, to achieving clean cities, clean energy, to achieving, to ending poverty, to good quality, to a desirable quality of health, and name it. So this has been a great conversation that I've loved hosting. It has been very insightful, and I hope the powers that be, all the different stakeholders, are able to pick from this and embetter the society and embetter West Nile. West Nile needs energy now more than ever before. I thank you, Justine. I thank you, Ronald. I thank you, Charles, for being a part of this conversation. We thank Center for Student Governance and Civic Space TV for convening this, and I've been your host, Martin. I wish you a great week.